Okay, everyone, this is the first tutorial to help you outline your essay for the Forrest Gump theme statement analysis paper that you're going to be writing. So these videos are going to walk you through step by step how to outline your essay and then ultimately how to put it all together. Being that this is the first essay, I like to guide my students and give them help. However, a lot of the portion of this is going to have to be done on you. You need to follow along to this video closely, and there's going to be times, many times, where I ask you to pause the video and to complete something on your own documents. So you have to pay attention. You can't just sit back and listen to this video. You have to follow along and do the things that I'm telling you to do. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose of watching this video. But if you follow along, and if you follow me step by step, the essay writing process should become very clear to you, and you should write a pretty good essay that gets you a decent score for this last assignment, which is 100 test points, which is a major factor of your first quarter grade and the last grade of your first quarter. Okay, so as you know, we've watched the film Forrest Gump over a number of days, and while we watched them, you should have taken notes in these boxes. So you should have this assignment open. So if you don't have this assignment open, pause and open it now. All right, if you're back, I'm assuming you have it open, which you should. Now, your boxes should be chock full of different examples or different notes for these three characters. This is blank because this is my copy. Okay? But I need you to scroll down to where you were supposed to have completed over the weekend an outline of the essential topics that you're going to write about in your essay. So scroll down to this section of your document. Okay, I'm going to reread the prompt real quick just so you know what you're writing about for this essay. It says, in a well-developed essay, argue the three most prevalent central topics in the film. Moreover, identify and argue a theme statement that the film was illustrating about each of these topics. Now, I went over this briefly on Friday. We even did this as an example for you, right? But you need to have three central topics, one here, a second here, and a third here that you think were the most prevalent in the story. You also need to have a theme statement about each topic. And then you needed three examples to support that statement. So if you look, my topic here was running. My theme statement was sometimes people need to run in order to save themselves, yet sometimes running is not the proper solution. And then I have some examples here. Again, I only have one example because I'm not going to do all of this for you because I need you to do it on your own. Right? But I would have had to come up with two more examples of where someone ran to save themselves or where someone is running, but it's not the proper solution. Right? And I would need to have those jotted down here. So you needed to go back and complete these boxes. So have another topic, whether it's one that you choose from the list that we provided, the one chosen from the list that I gave you, a theme statement about that topic, and three examples from the story that support that theme. So if you don't have these boxes filled, you are not ready to move on. So you need to check to make sure that you have this part done. So pause the video and make sure that you have all of these boxes complete. All right, if you're back, I'm assuming that you have this entire box, all three of these boxes completed and outlined and ready for you to use in your essay. Again, if you don't have all these boxes complete, you're behind and you need to do that first. You need to just stop the video, do that now. All right, but I'm assuming you got them done, so you're now ready to move on to the next part. So you should now have this assignment open that says Essay Outline for Argumentative Essay on Forrest Gump. Right? Now, you could ignore the directions that you see on this screen. Yours will say something differently. This is from last year, but you don't need to have that on there. In fact, I'll just delete this now so it's not confusing you. I restated the essay prompt here for you, so you should have that on your document. All right, so an essay has 5 paragraphs, or we're writing the 5-paragraph essay. Your first paragraph is your introduction paragraph, and there are 3 parts to your introduction, which we're going to talk about today in just a second. The next part is you're outlining your body paragraphs. Your body paragraphs are We're going to talk about each of your theme statements. So you have body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3, and conclusion. All right, but today we're just going to focus on the first paragraph, which is your introduction to your essay. Now, an introduction has three parts. One, you want to have an opening hook, which we'll talk about in just a second. You do not do this first. You want to have a little background about the story that you're writing about, in this case, the film. And then you want to have your thesis statement. Now, this is a direct claim in response to the prompt that you're being writing about. So this is a claim statement in response to this prompt. Right? So here's what you do. Very simply. You're going to start with the thesis statement first, because we got to know what we're writing about before we can actually write the essay. Now, here's what a thesis statement should sound like. In the film, Forrest Gump, by director and writer Robert Zemeckis, that's who wrote the story, the three most prevalent, or you can type central, but I like the word prevalent because themes or central topics throughout the story are, and this is where you would list the three topics that you're writing about. Running as one of mine, and then I would have a second, and then I would have a third. So you need to go back and you got to look at your document. So for this example, I'm going to write three out: are running, destiny, and love. Period. All right, these are the three central topics, but you need to write about the three that you're writing about, the three from your outline on this previous page. Right? So pause the video and write this thesis statement using your three central topics. Pause the video and do that now. All right, if you're back, I'm going to assume that you have this thesis statement box filled in. It should look like this, or written in, but it should have your three central topics. One thing I want to do is I want to underline the title, Forrest Gump. So make sure that you underline the title too on your document, because it's a title of the assignment or of the film that you're watching. Right. So now you need to write an introduction. Now, you need a hook to start off your paper. Now, a hook is a statement that introduces the topic of your paper. Now, your topic is central topics and themes, right, that we're writing about. So a hook should resemble that in some way. So here's an example of how an opening powerful statement could sound like, right? Films and stories of great renown, again, I'm just using some fancy language here, often deal with, sorry, I spelled renown wrong, often deal with important topics and themes that embody the overall main ideas of the story. It can be something like that. So again, that's the one that I came up with. Some people like to do hooks with questions too. You might have been taught that in junior high, a question. So you can say something like that has to do with some of your themes. So it can be something like, have you ever had to run away from your problems? Have you ever considered your destiny in life? And do you often wonder what love truly means? See how I'm writing questions that deal with my topics that I'm writing about? Destiny, running, and love. So that's another way to start it. But there are a lot of different ways that you can start it. So you can use the one I just provided for you. You can use the question format. I'm going to go back to the one that I provided because it's a little bit more simpler. But that is how a hook should look. So you want to pause the video now and write a hook for your essay. All right, if you're back, then I'm assuming that you have this box filmed or written. So if you might want to check with me to make sure that you did it right, if you want to make sure the grammar is good and that you have a nice complete sentence or two to start open up your essay. Now, the last part of your introduction is the background. This is where you get the title of the story that you're writing about, and 2 to 3 sentences basically about the film's premise. If you were to tell someone were to ask you, what is the film Forrest Gump truly about in 2 to 3 sentences, what would you write? So here's what I would write. Now, I want to transition from this statement that I just wrote to this. So because I wrote films and stories of great renown often deal with important topics and themes that embody the overall main ideas of the story, I could say something along the lines of one of the greatest films of all time that deals with many central topics and themes is Forrest Gump. Right? And then, of course, I want to underline that because it's a title. Now, I don't have enough here. I still need 2 to 3 sentences about the film's basic premise. So again, if somebody asked you, what is this film basically about? Don't give me the beginning, middle, and end. Just what's the general story? And I would write something like this. The story focuses on the life of Forrest Gump, a man with, all right, let me make sure everything's spelled properly, sorry. Forrest Gump, a man with learning, mental and physical disability, who throughout 4 decades encounters many obstacles and challenges, yet ultimately overcomes them and has great success. Now, again, that is something that I wrote, but notice how this is not giving away like the whole story. It's just giving the basic premise of the story. You can do your own version. You don't have to copy mine, but it should look like this, where you address the title, what is the film you're writing about, and then 2 to 3 sentences about the film's basic premise, which I did right there. The story focuses on the life of Forrest Gump, a man with a mental and physical disability who throughout 4 decades encounters many obstacles and challenges, yet ultimately overcomes them and has great success. Right? So I'd like you to pause the video and fill in the background box. All right, if you are back, then I'm assuming that all 3 of these boxes are complete. And basically, your introduction is done. If you were to read these in a row, you would see how this all flows together in one nice paragraph. And this would be the first paragraph of your essay. So once you've done that, you're ready to move to the next video, which is going to show you how to write the body paragraphs, which is the hardest part of your essay because it's going to take a lot of time to write your 3 body paragraphs. So for today, though, you should have just gotten the introduction done. If you got that done, you're on your way to finishing this essay on time. Okay? Let me know if you need any help, and hopefully you get your introduction done.